Hello, I am Marion. This is Book Zealots, and shock and awe, I have books. Not yarn, books. I have read -1 because it was a DNF. We'll just start with that one. I'm not going to rip it up. Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. The very front part, the preface, I had to get out the orange. There's so much false doctrine in this. There's so much orange. So much orange. I don't know who he was trying to impress, but okay, let's so the preface, page X11. That's 12. Okay. So he says something about without it, men, let's see what, without what? Let's see real quick, without what? Hostility has come more from borderline people, whether within the Church of England, I don't know what denomination that is, but denominations are not biblical, so there you have it. Or without it, men not exactly obedient to any communion. I do believe communion is Catholic. Anyway, this I find curiously consoling. It is at her center where her truest children dwell. Let me just stop right there, because so many people think we are all children of God, and that is a lie. No, you are not, unless you are saved. And yeah, there's a lot of New Age nonsense in here. And like I said, it's just the preface. The preface was a hot mess. And then I got to page 11. And he had strike 3. Because apparently he doesn't know Romans 2:12, or didn't know, because I know he's gone. Romans 2 verses 12 through 16. So, I think he had some real issues. So this is going in the trash. And when I had first read that book, I liked it. I think I gave it 4 stars. That was also before I had read the Bible multiple times and studied it. C.S. Lewis was a hot mess. Okay, on to bigger and better things. So I have obviously mentioned this, The Plantagenets by Dan Jones, and this was fascinating. If you have it, read it quickly. It's good. But again, I will reiterate. He mentions another author's book multiple times that made me think, why am I reading you, Dan Jones? Why? I don't know. But I am currently reading The Queens of England by Nora Loft. This is better. This is definitely better. And I know that her information is trying to be tight and concise, but better. But I am unhauling it. Share the knowledge. Okay. And I finished 1491 by Charles Mann. And he does have a propaganda agenda in here, which really ticked me off. I'm not going to burn the book. I'm not going to throw the book away. I will unhaul the book. The history part of the book, he did quite well. He gave both sides or both perspectives, because you have one side, then the other side, and then you have facts of the truth. So, Charles C. Mann and his agenda. And then I looked at the back after reading it. History/science. You should have left the science out, Mr. Mann, and this book would have been so much better, in my ever humble opinion. Alrighty. Then I had a buddy read Domestic Pleasures by Beth Gutcheon. So here's the funny thing. We had a buddy read, Alex Black and I, and we read it and didn't really communicate with each other because life. And we both did not like this book. This book is so convoluted. There are so many characters in this book. And it's like a soap opera. And there are very disgusting individuals in this book. It was tolerable, sort of, kind of, until she brought religion into it. And not even really religion, but she brings in the fact that certain characters are going to church. So I don't know if the author is anti-church or anti-religious or anti-God, but it was odd and did not fit. And the parents were horrible, and the children were horrible. And when the author brought in the religion, I'm thinking, don't bring your children to wrath. I forget what it is. I will put the information. And children, honor thy mother and thy father. And I've been a teenager. I've raised 3 teenagers. It doesn't have to be like this. Now, I know that there was some name calling. The name calling in this was nothing compared to what I was called growing up, which I will not use. Anyway, not her best work. It was very dated. It was interesting reading some of the old stuff, especially from a New York perspective, since I was on the West Coast, and the one book I have read was much better than this one. I will be unhauling it. It's not a book I would recommend. So there was adultery. Jesus is used as a cuss. There's a baby out of wedlock. There's vulgarity. There's zodiac garbage. There's drug use, alcohol use. The husband who hits his wife. There's disrespect on every level. I mean, if you have trigger issues, avoid this book. Now, I do have other books by her, and I'm wondering if I should just get them all read and get them out of the house. I do have the one that Alex Black mentioned, and it's still missing. I mean, the book isn't missing. The title is called Still Missing. So I think I'm going to read that one first. Okay. Now, I have had a book in my possession for a while. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. This was given to me by a friend. I've had it for over a decade, and I finally got to it. Yeah. I did not like the book. I figured out who the killer was, or the killer of the dog, on page 91. Without even trying. I was like, oh, that's who did it. Wrote it on page 91, and then when I found out, I was like, yeah, that's disappointing. The boy thinks that he is very smart because he thinks logically, but in his logic, he is sometimes not logical. I think that, so when I'm reading about the boy who has autism, he's Christopher John Francis Boone. I really felt like I was reading the author. I don't know who the author is. I don't know him from, you know, anybody down the road. I don't know who this author is. But I definitely got that he is anti-God and thinks he's smarter than everybody else, assuming he wrote himself into Christopher John Francis Boone. I think this book was very well loved. Had it not been for my friend, I never would have read this. As it is, it took me over a decade to get to it. Did not like it. God is used as a cuss. So if you have issues with that because you're a Christian, if you've already read that book, let me know what you thought of it. Did you like it? Did you hate it? But I tend to not like popular books anyway. I think Very Literary Carrie is to blame for this one, but I'm not 100% positive. But we'll blame her anyways. Thank you, Carrie. The Pink Suit by Nicole Mary Kelby. It's about the seamstress and the industry in New York during the 1960s. fashion knockoffs, which still happens today. Who's that girl in England married to that prince? Kate? I don't know. What's her name? The girl with the brown hair. She has 3 kids. Whatever. Her. Okay. So every time she wears a really cute dress, apparently there are a bunch of knockoffs for that dress, which is hard to find because if you want modest dresses, trust me, they are hard to find. So the pink suit is about this woman who is an Irish immigrant who works in New York. Oh my goodness. So the industry, so much racism going on with the Jewish people who worked in the fabric industry. And I forget what it's called now, but I mean, that was a big deal in New York, and I know LA had it too. You had fabric neighborhoods. Unfortunately, those fabric and fashion neighborhoods are no longer there. They've been sent overseas, and now we have, you know, cheap garbage that you basically wear once and throw away, because if you put it in the laundry, it falls apart, or it's so thin it's see-through. Garbage today, garbage, which is why I need to learn how to sew my own clothing. The making of this was fascinating. The main character was fascinating. There are some things in here that aren't appropriate, but it's not terrible. There is pagan idol prayer worship. There is fornication. There's lots of superstition. But I did want to mention, so Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, well, she wasn't Onassis at the time. So Jacqueline Kennedy's dress, this infamous suit, at that time in 1963 was estimated at $800 to $1,000. Okay? In today's value, $7,620 to $9,525. I don't know about you, but that's a whole lot of money to be spending on a suit. That's just crazy in my opinion. There's so much other things you could buy with that. Then I have, okay, I got this book for free on Goodreads. And there was a book that I was getting confused with another author. This is the book and the author that I was actually thinking of. Karen Slaughter. Blindsided. So, blood, guts, and gore in the very beginning, but it was written from a technical doctor perspective. This book is so disgusting. So beyond disgusting. There isn't a single person in this book, a single character that I can say that person was decent. I did not understand the connections that these people had, and the women were awful. The psychotic killer in this. Violent, vulgar porn. I had to skip so much of this book because it was so disgusting. The more I talk about it, the more I think it's going in the trash. Okay. I will never read another book by this person. Never, ever. Have you ever? Not again. Okay. There was something else that I wanted to mention about this. I don't remember. I don't care. I was very disgusted. Oh, Captain Obvious, the killer. Who's the killer? It was Captain Obvious. This is why I don't like reading mysteries, because they're so easy to figure out. Now, supposedly, oh, and a red herring in the second half of the movie. The second half of this book, like right at the very end, you're given a red herring. I'm like, this is so obvious. This book is so pathetic. Okay. The final book that I read was Apollyon by Tim LaHaye and Jerry B. Jenkins, because the Serious About series that Lizzie Faye Loves Books is hosting. I think there are some others as well. But I am serious about getting this series read and out of the house before we move. So if I can read a book a month, that I will finish before 2024. So Apollyon, fascinating. This one, there were a couple of things in here that sent a chill down my spine because I thought, oh, that's happening now. That language, the verbiage, the propaganda, things that were being told. Yeah, so there are a couple things in here, and then of course, it makes me want to know Revelations better. Like I said before in previous books, this isn't completely accurate. There are things in here that I think they've take fictional artistic liberty to do because there are certain things in here that are not written in scripture. So there you have it. But this one has definitely piqued my curiosity more. So I think it started to get better with, yeah, it was this one, Apollyon, because I've already started the next one, which is Assassins. So I should be able to finish this before 2024, which is great. So minus those two books, it was actually fairly interesting month. So I got a Christian book read, if you want to call it that. Historical fiction about immigration and the fashion industry in 1963. One of my friend's books, which was garbage. Buddy Reed, which was weird. And 1491, which was, there were some parts in this that were really intriguing. And the Plantagenets. And so these two books were for historathon. So this time period, so March, April, May, I'm off to a really good start, and I think I will be able to get some more books read for historathon for April and May, and then we'll transition. I'm so excited about the next quarter reading, because all the books, all the history books, and I just want to say quickly on this book, one of the things that I did like about this book, one of the things that I like about well-written historical fiction books is that it will make you hungry for the facts. And this one did that. So if you like this time period, if you like fashion, if you like, obviously Jackie, she doesn't really play a big part in this, but just what she wore, and how they had to get permission, all the stuff. Anyway, this one made me go down some rabbit holes online. I was looking some things up, or I'd read a section and then I'd immediately have to go look it up to see what was actually true. Like the money, for instance, how much the suit cost. That's a lot of money. And another thing, she either wore this suit approximately 6 to 7 times before the infamous day in Dallas, Texas, which I didn't know. I wasn't around. How would I know? But I mean, well, Carrie probably knows, but anyway, so this made me curious. I wanted to read more about Jackie O. And yeah, so that was my month. Thank you very much for visiting. And let me know what you're reading for Historathon and if you're participating in the Serious About series. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.
Did you have to restart?
I did. Okay, can you go ahead and stop it?